What's up, y'all? It's your boy Brandon here with Distant Thunder. We'll be talking a little bit today about the Fourth Amendment. Go figure, we have rights as American people. With that being said, jump right in and hit that like and subscribe button, a little notification bell below. I'll be doing a shirt giveaway here in the next couple of videos, but you must comment your name. Let's jump right into it. So, in regards to some court cases brought before the Supreme Court, the police are looking for the right to kick in your door and basically search for illegal firearms. That being said, with all the gun laws being put forth and gun bans that they're trying to do, that opens up a big door. It's some scary stuff. Basically, we have a Fourth Amendment that goes for unlawful searches. If police get this put through, then they can just assume you have illegal firearms, kick in your door, and search your whole home. Whether you have them or not, they can assume that. There is exceptions to our Fourth Amendment, the exigent circumstance, which if a police officer looks through your window and sees somebody about to stab you, he can then burst in and prevent that crime from happening. Also, first aid exception. If the same officer looks through your window and sees you suffering from a clear heart attack, he can then come in and administer first aid. Nobody with a sane mind is going to contest that. Nobody. But there's a community caretaking exception that the Supreme Court is going to rule on because police perform community caretaking. There was a case brought forth before the Supreme Court that police took a firearm out of the trunk of a car without obtaining a search warrant. How do they obtain a search warrant? They get probable cause, present it to a judge, and then the judge will issue a search warrant. Basically, they showed evidence that they took the firearm out of the vehicle to keep from vandals from obtaining said firearm while the car was impounded and under their care. So if we do have a gun ban that comes through and there's certain gun laws that get administered, then police can just assume you have illegal firearms in your home, kicking your door in, holding you captive, and searching your home, whether you have them or not. That's not okay. Those fellow Americans that do fly, don't tread on me flags outside of their home. Police usually put two and two together, those that have don't tread on me flags outside of their house, with people who support the Second Amendment and carry firearms. That's great. I absolutely agree with the Second Amendment. I don't think it should be infringed upon for law-abiding citizens. Do we need background checks? Absolutely. But there's some time it needs to stop. Basically, when would this community caretaking exception stop? Where would it stop? Yeah, I support law enforcement. I do agree with law enforcement. I would help law enforcement in any way I can. But I do believe there is a few corrupt officers out there who would use this to their advantage. So if an officer just comes up, he could pick a random house. According to this, he could pick a random house and say, I think they have illegal firearms, and kick their door in, detain the family, and search their home lawfully. No, I don't agree with that just because of an assumption. I do not think that is okay. Now, sure, there is illegal firearms out there, and they do need to be removed off the street. But I'm telling you right now, with all these gun laws and everybody saying, well, we need stricter gun laws and all this crap, it is doing nothing but making it harder for law-abiding citizens. And you. I don't think criminals are going to turn said firearms in, and they have these buyback programs and garbage like that. Criminals are applauding that and wanting that because if they know the less people that have firearms within their home, They ain't got to worry about it because they got the firearms now. There's been 7.4 million new gun owners in the United States. There's a lot of people in fear of this, especially with stuff being thrown around like defund the police. That's not okay. So how are the police going to protect you when you got people screaming defund the police, defund the police? It takes on average 4 to 7 minutes response time for police to respond to a call. Now, there are times in which you can't call, whether you have a cell phone on you or not. If you are in your home, trapped in an upstairs bedroom, whatever the case may be, you have an intruder in there, you're screwed. You're screwed unless you have a firearm. Now, I would call out and tell them to leave and by any means try and find a way to signal law enforcement. But if you're in that situation, you need a firearm. And a lot of people, regardless of political party, a lot of Democrats are buying firearms as we speak. So a lot of these firearms that people are lawfully buying, they're trying to ban, regulate, so on and so forth. And that being said, they're going to assume that they have said firearms in their homes. Another issue that I see in this, we have a lot of people that have never owned a firearm, never fired a firearm, and don't know shit about firearms. That's scary in itself. If you don't know shit about a firearm, you should take a course. You should become familiar with your firearm. You should learn how to handle your firearm safely. I've been around firearms since my whole life. My whole life I've been around firearms. My father kept me within firearms since I was a kid. We used them for hunting and home protection. So firearms are nothing new to me. But there's a lot of people that don't know anything about firearms, and they buy one because they think they need one, which is fair, and I agree they do. They do need a firearm. But I agree they need some form of classes or schooling to teach them how to use that firearm effectively and store it effectively where they can. A lot of cases they say guns are killing our kids. No, guns aren't killing kids. Ignorance and lack of knowledge is killing kids, and curiosity. Granted, as an adult, they should store their firearms better, more safe, in a gun safe, so on and so forth, to keep children from getting their hands on these firearms. I agree the parent should be held liable for that if a child gets a hold of their firearm due to misconduct in storage. But in the case of my kids are growing up around firearms. They know how to use those firearms. Do they grab them? No, they can't. I keep them locked. But we go to the range, we shoot. My kids shoot, and they use those firearms effectively. But you have a curious child that finds there's been a lot of cases, so many cases of children getting firearms and of their parents that they have under the bed or somewhere they store it stupidly and uncaringly, and that child's curious about said firearm. They're looking at it, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh yeah, boom!" and they blow their head off. I think the parent should be held liable for that. My children, they've seen what firearms can do. They know they're not a toy, and they won't mess with them. But I keep them locked, so they can't. I also keep my ammunition in a different place than the firearms. Besides my carry firearm, I keep it on me. But that being said, that's an issue that needs brought forth. If there should be any bills, it should be that we should store firearms in any way. Also, that being said, back into the AR-15s and such, my son Isaac he's deadly accurate with an AR-15. He gets right down in there. He can smash them out all day long. He is deadly accurate, and he can use that weapon effectively. Also, my thought process, a bullet from an 8-year-old is just as effective as a bullet from a 40-year-old. That's just my thought. Now, how somebody handles a firearm is not okay. The only time my child will handle a firearm is at the gun range. So, a firearm is a deadly weapon. So, be it a crossbow, a pin, a bottle can be a deadly weapon. So, a firearm, in my opinion, is no different than a tool. It is just like a hammer I have out in my garage, but they're not toys. So, do I agree with unlawful searches? No, no, God, no. Just on assumptions, they shouldn't be allowed to just come in and search for illegal firearms. That's completely uncalled for. So now we're going to start living in communism, and it's just a dictatorship, and this is not okay. The America as we have grown up in and know it is coming to an end. We had a good run. It's 200 years, but I'm going to die. I'm going to live, and I'm going to die a free American.